I've been sharing with you recently some of the homes that I've purchased around the world, not just as a real estate investment, but as I'm creating this network of residences around the globe where I can go and spend time. I have a place to go. There's safe havens. They often lead to other things like residence or citizenship or just lifestyle benefits. And so that led a gentleman or lady with the single YouTube name F. Their name is F. They said, Andrew, would you please make a video about buying real estate and the benefits of that instead of just the cheaper option of renting? Well, your wish, F, is my command. Hey guys, I'm Andrew Henderson, and if you want to learn more about my real estate deals and a lot of properties that we've looked at, why I keep empty homes around the world, check out our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of videos on real estate and my philosophy on owning real estate as a nomad capitalist. But in this video, I'm going to answer the question why I buy rather than rent, because it hasn't always been that way. Growing up in the United States as a young adult, I started my first business around 1920. I rented for a while, and I called it buying patience. When I was 26, 27 years old, I bought a home. It turned out to be the lowest point in the market where I was buying. During that time, I was already traveling substantially. By the time I had left the US full time, I still owned this home, ended up selling it, pocketing some money, and I was living overseas. I set up my first base in Malaysia where I was renting. At the time, renting was great because I was building up this new business called Nomad Capitalist. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go. It was the early days of people just saying, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? It was kind of just in the stages of transitioning from a hobby to a business. And so, by renting, I was able to get a lot more for my money. In fact, I know a lot of people here in Kuala Lumpur who come up to me in the street. We have parties, I meet expats, and some of them have nicer places than I do because they're renting, and because for $2,000 a month you can get a pretty darn nice place. For $3,000 a month you can live in like the Taj Mahal, and rent in some of these overseas markets is indeed really cheap. Malaysia in particular has relatively low yields. Not every market is as low. Other markets like Colombia or Georgia, for example, it might make more financial sense to buy because the yields there are higher for the landlord. But I rented because for my financial position at the time, I wanted the flexibility of being able to rent. I wasn't exactly sure, how long I wanted to be there, if I was going to still want to travel or move somewhere else. And so I rented that home and I traveled all around the world. And so what I learned during that time was the personal side of why I wanted to buy. One of the issues was simply logistics. Okay? Now, if you're first starting out, you're renting. I was living in that apartment in Malaysia, 4 or 5 months a year, and I was traveling around the rest of the time. I used it as a base to park my stuff. I remember there were times when I had to take out, 2 or 3 months of rent from the ATM, and I would meet up with the landlord's representative, and I would give them the cash. Because it was easier than wiring, and the landlord wasn't really set up for wiring. And some of these countries, like Malaysia, the ringgit is a closed currency. You can't send ringgit from other countries. Now you can do it through services like TransferWise, but back then, before some of those services existed, it was more difficult, and you had to worry about getting the amounts exactly, synced up. It was just a pain. So there was literally times where I would just, take out, $5,000 from the ATM, through like numerous different withdrawals, and I would meet up and I'd say, here's your stack of cash, right? And so logistically, that was a challenge. If you were going to go and set up shop somewhere where you don't have immigration status, you don't have a residence permit, you're not becoming a citizen, setting up things like utilities can be more difficult. Paying your utilities can be more difficult because you don't have a bank account in the country in many cases if you can't get immigration status. And sometimes how you get a bank account is you own real estate. So it's kind of this chain effect of it becomes difficult. And so again, how do you pay your electric bill in Malaysia? You can't do it online. You can go into the 7-Eleven with cash, but how do you do that when you're gone for 3 months a year, right? So it's a difference of expat versus nomad capitalist. The nomad capitalist might have 2 or 3 homes around the world. They might be traveling for business or for leisure, and you're not always there to take care of stuff. So there's just a logistics issue that not only do not want to be dealing with landlords, but also it's easier to pay your bills because, again, when you own a property, Now you can get a bank account. Now you can get whatever statuses that you need, and you can set everything up to where it's easier to manage. I also found that I like the control. I lived in apartments in the United States when I was young. When I was really young, I rented an apartment in a building, and I was just so excited to be out on my own. That first time you're out of the house, and I decorated it what I thought was really nice. My novice interior design skills at the time, but my latter years of renting there, I had a really nice landlord who let me do whatever I want. They let me paint. They let me hang up photos. I really put a lot of effort into my longest term rental, and I got used to this idea of being comfortable. I think that you're productive when you have an environment that's conducive, that you feel good in. This is part of why I don't really like staying in Airbnbs that much, because most of the Airbnbs I stay in the markets where I'm going, maybe in New York or London it's different, but in the places where I'm going, most of these Airbnbs, it's like white walls, there's wires running across the floor. I mean, we're not talking $30 apartments, we're talking some of the nicer apartments, and I just don't feel good there. It feels like cold and kind of dark, and so I like being able to control the environment. Overseas, landlords have all kinds of different priorities and all kinds of different agendas. In some of these countries, especially in Asia, the landlords are very, don't do that, very conservative. And when I lived in that first apartment, their furniture was kind of A lot of these markets, if you're like me, you're from the United States, you're used to bringing your own furniture. You're used to renting a place unfurnished. And a lot of these places, it's furnished. And you think, oh, that's great. And it is easy, except a lot of times the furniture sucks. A lot of these countries, these people have no taste. Like, they've never, can't you just pick up a copy of Vogue or something and see what design is? They have no clue. And so you're stuck there with some hideous couch, and it's terrible. So I wanted to have control. I wanted to create a great environment for myself. That was something that alone is a successful business person. I want to feel good in my environments. I can tell you, when Mrs. H and I were in Bogota, in Colombia, a couple months ago, we're renovating the place that I bought there, and we were staying in this hotel. It wasn't a bad hotel. The people were pretty nice in the hotel, and we would literally just go on a slow day or on a weekend. We would just go. And we didn't know this about each other. We'd go out for coffee, each of us, independently. And then we'd come home. Guess what I did today? I went and sat in the new apartment and just sat by the window and looked out. Because, even with just a few things in place, it was already like, oh, this feels so nice and feels so homey. I want to be here, right? The Airbnbs, the hotels, it's just like, I like that system of control to create really homey environments that I think really kick your business or your investments into high gear because you feel good. Another reason I bought real estate all around the world is just risk reduction. I like balancing my assets into different asset classes. If you run a cash flow business, or if you have a cash investment portfolio, you have money to invest. I think putting money into real estate around the world is a good deal because you're giving yourself some asset protection, you're giving yourself diversification into numerous different things. So when I bought in Malaysia, I signed the contract, and I don't really try and time these things now, but it happened to be, just kind of like I bought my first house in the United States at the very bottom of the market, and it was the worst month on record in a long time. I signed the contract in Malaysia when the ringgit was at almost its lowest level against the US dollar. I've been watching it go down, and it was a point where the ringgit went down. Now the ringgit has since come back up, gone back down a little bit, but it's never really reached that point where I bought the house. And so I felt the Malaysian ringgit was undervalued. Others in the financial media agree with me. I said, I like living here anyway. And I said, if I can get a currency play and a place to live, it costs me almost nothing to maintain. And while Malaysia is a bit overbuilt, long term, it's half the price of Bangkok. KL is half the price per square meter of Bangkok. It's a more developed country. I think once those supply issues get settled in the next 5 to 10 years, you'll see some price appreciation. You will see this market balance out. And in the meantime, if you already have liquid assets that are sitting there, I think diversifying into international real estate gives you a lot of risk reduction. It protects your money. You get in a new place. By doing that, you can also get often immigration benefits. Right? So in Malaysia, they have the My Second Home program. You can take out half of your term deposit if you use it to buy real estate. And so if you're going to be living in a place, I see owning real estate as a way to take some money out of something that's earning 2, 3, 4%, put it into a property you can enjoy. Your yield as a landlord might only be 4%, but at least you own an asset that has some potential for capital appreciation. Certainly real estate prices don't always go up, but you're also getting other benefits. Sometimes the real estate itself can be the thing that triggers the immigration benefit, where you can go out and apply for residence, or in a couple of cases, citizenship. And so at times I've done that, where I've bought properties because I wanted to try out residence or citizenship programs. But on top of that, my philosophy here at Nomad Capitalist is you want to invest in growth markets. And I think, when you get to the point when you want to buy a property somewhere, or when you get to the point where you've studied a market well enough that you're comfortable buying a property there, you have a certain comfort with it. I've been studying Colombia and been going to Colombia for a number of years, and I've been studying the numbers and the metrics and where the government's going and kind of the long-term perspective, and I felt very comfortable with it. And so, in addition to all the other cool perks I get by doing that, I felt comfortable making that investment. And so it's a way to diversify your cash into emerging markets. A lot of people look at things like ETFs that I think don't give you nearly as much correlation to the market. And so unless you're going to go and start a business in Colombia or buy Colombian government debt, there aren't as many ways, in my opinion, to get some of the diversification benefits. And again, you get a lifestyle benefit. For me, having safe havens and having homes around the world, again, often with immigration status, to get into the country, even when times get tough, is very valuable. It's a network that you can always go where you're treated best. If for some reason one of the countries my homes is in decides that they're going to impose some draconian tax policy on me, I can use it as a pop-in for vacations, and I can go live somewhere else that's already set up. I don't have to skip a beat. For me, what I've been trying to do is create a network of places that I enjoy living, I enjoy spending time. I have business connections perhaps in that place or nearby with a quick flight. And it's basically a hub model. It's my hub and spoke model of the hubs where I have homes, the spokes, which are the focus cities nearby where I do business. It makes it really easy to go anywhere in the world and be welcomed. That's why I have been purchasing and not renting. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.